And now, your Pickle Gals.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Pickle Gals Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. We have a great and fun guest for you again today. My name is Krishan Spackman.
And I'm Rachel Roney.
And together we are the Pickle Gals.
Pickle Gals.
Right on. Well, hey, we have to tell you something really funny. So we set up our podcast today with our guest, and we have been dying for her to get on the show. And so we jump on all enthusiastic, ready to go at was it 8 o'clock? 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, yeah.
9 o'clock this morning. We're here. We're all excited. And then we find out that Minnesota is on Central Time.
Something hit me. I was like, hang on. I feel like there could be a time change. And there definitely was.
So we are still here, fresh, ready to go. But we've been here for about an hour. And but now we have our special guest with us, Jenny Johnson of Rich Cat Supply, but she's much more than just Rich Cat Supply. So without further ado, let's bring her into the show. There we go. Welcome, Jenny Johnson, to the Pickle Gals Podcast.
Good morning. Thanks. So excited to be here.
Yeah, even if it's an hour later. We told everybody before we brought you in that we totally spaced the whole time zone.
Yeah. Lesson learned in the future.
Yes.
Learning as we go.
I didn't know. Minnesota's on Central Time. Learn something new every day, whether it's pickleball or not. So, well, hey, guys. This is Jenny Johnson out of Minnesota. And we just have a lot of different things we want to talk about because she's got such a fantastic story and a background and a great player in the pickleball market. So just to start off with, talk to us because you come from a multi-generation pickleball family. You guys were featured in the 2024 U.S. Open in a story about that. There again in 2025, which was just a week or so ago. So talk to us about the multi-generation. How did all that come about?
Yeah, well, I'm really lucky to come from a family of athletes and grew up playing tennis. My mom definitely was a model to my sister and I as a USDA teaching tennis pro, tennis coach. So, we grew up watching her model that to us. Pickleball came kind of later on, but and actually my mom was sort of my wingman getting me out there on the court. I kept walking past the old folks playing pickleball in the YMCA gym and judging how silly it looked on my way up to the weight room. But they also looked like they were having so much fun. And one day I'm like, Mom, will you take me out there? And so she did, and I realized how fun it was. And so she got me hooked. And then when I kind of started getting more competitive games, I was like, oh, this is a thing. My friends were making fun of me for playing pickleball. And I'm like, no, you guys, this is a thing. This is so fun.
Real.
So eventually I got into it and got more competitive, and then went to the US Open 2 years ago to play mixed. And I just went down on my own, but I convinced my sister to come along and just hang with me. And she experienced the US Open. We both were just like, oh, this is amazing. Like, let's come next year. Let's convince the whole family to come. So last year, my mom, my dad, my sister, and my son and daughter came along too. And my daughter played for the first time a junior event that year. But it was magic. It was magic to be all of us there, all of us competing, cheering each other on. It felt like such a team activity. And at some point, I don't know how it all worked out. I think it was my sister Megan who finagled it, but we got pulled aside and were interviewed with the Waters family, who is also multi-generation.
That's right.
Leigh had played her first US Open with her grandfather. So we got to meet him and Leigh and Annalie, and we were just like starstruck and so excited to share that multi-generation experience, which is very unique to the US Open.
Yeah, that is so cool. And it was cool to see you guys again this year. Just the medal count keeps rising and your games are elevating. And I wanted to point out, we did play you. I played
story.
So I was wondering, I was kind of recapping it with Krishan earlier of just how much fun it was, but sister to sister, I'm sure that was a different experience for you guys, but I had so much fun being on the court with you guys, just the energy you guys bring to it. So what were your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh, you played so well. When I woke up in the morning and looked at the draw and saw my partner Sarah and I had a bye first round, and Rachel and Megan, my sister Megan, if they had won, we would have to play them. And I'm like, oh, no, let's meet in the gold medal match, not, that first or second round. And gosh, it's hard, right? So we all go up to the net and we just hug, friends and family first. And then we got to go compete, right? Because we're competitors. And Megan and Rachel came out just ready. Like you guys crushed us the first game. I think it was like 11-2 or something.
It felt. Yeah,
that was counting. She's not counting.
I knew. I said to her, I was like, the second game's not gonna.
Mind you, there's a huge audience of all of Virginia people and Minnesota people, and I think my mom left. I think she decided she couldn't handle it. So she left, and I'm looking at Sarah like, oh gosh, we gotta figure this out. And then we started to find more of a rhythm in game 2, which was really competitive, and we won. So we went into that third game, and you and Sarah just got like in these endless backhand dink battles. I think Megan and I were just like, you guys take care of it. We'll just sit here. And you were grinding, and we were just looking to put the ball away. And I think it was a close 11-9, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. You guys had a lead.
It was just tight. Kind of
picked us apart at the end, just changing up so many little things. And I was telling Krishan how it was just such a clean game of strategy and not making silly errors, and you guys just played so well. And
Rachel, you're a team player though, because what I just heard was you and Sarah decided to leave the sisters out of it, right?
Yeah,
don't break up the family relationship.
Yes, thank you. You guys do it. So we can, go back to the Airbnb and get along afterwards. So it was really good pickleball, and everyone who was watching, I think, really enjoyed seeing us all kind of elevate.
Well, what was it like to be sister to sister? I mean, how many times has that happened often? And when it does, what's that like? What's it like on the court? I mean, do you see your sister, or do you see an opponent? And then afterwards, I know both of you, so your personalities are so delightful. I'm sure, it was everything from maybe talking about it, but also laughing too. But what is it like on the court? And then do you talk about it after?
Yeah, it's a growth journey, right? Like we grew up, we've competed our whole lives. We did play one like section playoff tennis match. I was a senior, she was a freshman. We imploded. It was bad. And I think after that, we were like, I don't know if we can ever compete together again. And so we had a chance last summer to play in a for fun tournament together, and it went well. But I think that the beautiful thing was Megan and I got to play Women's Open on Monday together, and we had success. That's where we got a gold medal in the Women's Open.
Yeah, you got a gold?
We did. That was, and
I would say that
was amazing. It was amazing. So we had already teamed up and really felt like we accomplished something together as players and as a family. And that was a beautiful moment. Oh, wow. So going into this, it was a little, I don't know, it was just easier. We had already won together. And, after the match, we don't like to lose. So we went our separate ways. Megan sent me a really beautiful text. You played well. And, same, it was, just loving. Like we're all on this journey to like get better as individuals and support each other in that journey. And it stinks when you have to knock out someone that you care about in the tournament,
Absolutely.
But it's also a joy to have that opportunity.
Do you, I'm just fascinated with this piece. I know how my brain works after a game, right? I mean, and you guys are intellectual about the game as well. And, even if I'm not playing against someone that I know, I still think about, what did I do well, didn't do well, what could I do better? Do you guys talk about it afterwards though? Or do you just not coach each other at all? I mean, do you give any insight or say, well, I found that your backhand was struggling, or you just know better to just stay away from that?
I think we both recognize the strategic the strategic things that each other did that were really smart, like, and then you guys started throwing up a lob here, or you stepped in and attacked, and that was really smart, right? Because that's less about what your strengths and weaknesses are technically, but like you can be smart in a game and kind of respect and honor that and say, great job picking that apart, well done.
Cool. So you really stay about, really keep it to what they did well, positive.
Yeah. And I mean, the cool thing too is I think all of us, Megan's coming to me saying, hey, how do I, get a backhand? How do I improve my backhand? Or, and she's saying, helping me, like we all want each other to get better. Right. And that's what's happened. I mean, even the level of play from last year at the US Open in our age category, I don't know if you felt that way too, you guys, like, it's just, there's no easy match at the US Open. Like it's all very tough.
Yeah. Really,
each year just, keeps getting better.
Yeah. Really good point. Well, I know before we jump off the US Open, we would really be doing a disservice if we didn't bring up the fact that your daughter is now playing on the pro tour, right?
She's starting to crack in and do some pro matches. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. And what happened at the US Open for her?
Well, so the US Open did a great thing where they put the junior events at the beginning of the tournament. So we got there early. She got to play with a bunch of really great juniors, singles, girls, and mixed. She medaled in all three, which was a fun start to the US Open. Then on Monday was the progressive draw started for all the pro matches. So she had her first women's doubles match at 9 a.m. and then she was going to play mixed pro doubles after that at 11, I think it was. And my sister and I were playing that day. We started at the same time. We went out, we finished our first tough round. We barely pulled off a 3-set win. And my mom comes over and she's like, good job, ladies. I'm like, thank you. And she's like, Bali just won a pro match on Zing Zing's, championship court. And I'm like, what? What? And I missed it. Like Phoebe's first pro match, somehow they got on center court and I didn't get to see it, but they won. And you go in with sort of like, what am I going to learn from this when you're a 15-year-old and you're playing pro. And so they dug deep. I think they had a really big comeback in game one and then showed up game two and pulled off a win. So that was, gets you pretty excited. Right. And
to do it on Zing Zang court. I mean,
yes.
Zing Zang court is the court to play on.
Big moment.
Yeah. Huge moment. And then, what you said about, you go in kind of with this mindset of what can I learn? Rachel and I just did a kind of a little podcast teaser earlier today. And we talked about, I'm just finished really kind of like my first year of senior pro. And I was saying exactly that. I mean, I call myself a rookie on the tour. So to have played against Beth Bellamy and Natalie Bagby in one of our matches, and, we got to 11-11 and, then I had a medical timeout, et cetera. We lost 12-15. I'm just like, oh my God, we got 12 points.
Right? That's huge.
So you go in, you're not going in there saying, oh, I'm a pro now, so I'm just going to go in and beat everybody. It's what am I going to learn? How can I grow my game? I always say I'm going in to find out what I don't do well.
Yeah.
Because it's
right. Yeah. The growth mindset. For sure.
Man. Well, I guess to summarize US Open, I do want to say that the MultiGeneration pickleball family set a new record, broke their first record, set a new one. 9 medals in 24, 11 medals in 25. So hats off to you and your entire family. I know that, the vibe there about that entire family at the US Open, you've really connected with that tournament and people really are following you guys. So just congratulations to you and your daughter and everyone else. I hope they recorded the match.
We gotta find that. I know. And my mom, you guys, my mom's turning 75 this year and she's out there playing singles in the heat and the wind. And it's like really inspiring. So
that just made me feel
she set the tone for all of us.
I think one of the funny moments was was the second day we were playing, and your mom's sitting there with the medal, and you're like, "Wait, did you get another medal today?" She's like, "Oh yeah." Something else she played.
Yeah. Wow. So your mom is 75, and I didn't realize she's playing singles.
Yeah, she got silver singles in a close match, and a silver in women's doubles and a bronze in mixed. So there was the rest of my family really that brought in the majority of the medals.
Well, I mean, just for people that weren't there, the heat was unbelievable. So even more impressive that happened. But speaking of impressive, one of the other parts of your story is Rich Cat Supply. So this is not just a paddle company. It's a paddle company. I like to say a paddle company with a mission. So tell us about, I mean, you're a female, clearly a female in the paddle industry. And we just talked about all the playing experience, the 20 years of racket sport experience. And now you've come up with this Rich Cat Supply company, paddle, and concept to include giving back. So can you talk to us about, how did that all even come about and what's going on?
Yeah, it's been an adventure, and that's definitely how I framed it in my mind when I started to move forward. It kind of, I think, was born when I was working for a tutoring software startup company with my sister. And it was cool. We got some career coaching and did this exercise called finding your ikigai, which is like a Japanese finding your purpose. And it's kind of the convergence of your strengths and your passion and all of this. And pickleball had become I don't know, obsession is not a healthy word, but it was very much a passion. You guys know what I mean?
Addiction's not a good one either, but it works.
So I had some experience. I had kind of a random, I've got a business background. That's what I majored in. And then I worked in sales for a while in the active sports industry, particularly selling snowboarding equipment. So I was doing like phone sales before the internet was really like a thing. If I'm going to age myself there. And got that, and I got my master's in teaching. So between education and business, gone kind of back and forth in my career. But I remember, when I was selling snowboards, so many people, I'm trying to give them the right equipment for their level and their price range and all of that. And they'd be like, but I want the powder blue board, or I want the board that has this on it. And how important graphics can be just to inspire people to get out and be active. And when I started playing pickleball and my friends were making fun of me, and I'm like, there's the gear, the marketing, it's really not enticing for someone who cares about looking cool at the time. And I was like, these paddles, it's an opportunity to have fun graphics and get people, particularly my kids who thought it was dumb, get them excited about the sport. And my husband and I had some experience building proprietary brands for snowboards. So connections in Asia with factories to build, snowboards. Also, he got into making fat tire bikes. So
we're gonna talk about that another day, by the way. That's my favorite brewery on the planet. Well, New Belgium Brewery, and the fat tire was originally my favorite beer. But that's another day. But thank you for letting me know that.
Yes. Yeah. So fat tire bike. So I was like, hey, there's an opportunity for paddles here. Also, I had started getting into teaching and recognized that a lot of the students were showing up with terrible, wood or cheap, heavy plastic paddles that they got on Amazon. And I'm like, we've got an opportunity to bring to market paddles that are fun, that reflect the joyful, exciting nature of the sport, and can really help, give them a feel of how it should feel to control and have spin and all the things that you need to actually improve, right? You can go out and whack a plastic paddle and have a limited amount of fun before, you kind of, it's not as interesting. So at first it was, and this was kind of when I started playing around with it. It was before rock carbon fiber was the standard. So it was a lot of fiberglass, graphite, you could print, even with, the Toray T700 carbon fiber. You could do fun prints. So that's how we started beginner paddles, getting people a good price point with fun colors was part of it. And then, you know, as I started to get better and play at the 5.0 level, I'm like, I need a high level paddle. So it took a long time to sort of develop the Animo, which is the paddle that I'm like, this was my, it's obvious. I was a tennis player because it's elongated, it's carbon fiber. You know, it started the process of how they were made change. Like thermoform became the standard. So creating these molds. Long story longer. That's been kind of the journey of how I got into it, and just it really, it brought me joy to like be a part of that creative process, nerd out about what is paddle construction, how does this work, and then have fun playing around with designs. Like I'm not necessarily a designer, but it was fun as a female to be like, well, what would women like, you know, what or even, you know, gender neutral color schemes, and just be creative with it. So it's been very much a fun passion project in that regard.
Yeah, I think especially, you know, those entry paddles that you all make, it's, you know, you're generous and gave to our grant program for outreach with kids, and kids love the designs. The floral and the mountain one. I mean, even the adults, but the kids just really get excited when they get to hold a rich cat paddle out on the court instead of that.
Like these heavy, and I think like I was like, I don't know, I had the loud floral purple pattern, and when I went in to do like a, you know, gym class fun lesson, and I saw these high school dudes be like, I want the purple one, and like go grab them and play. I was like, yes, this is so fun to see. Like, and they were. I
saw the same effect. The boys and girls. The floral one was hands down the favorite. I was like, all right, cool. This is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really cool because in my mind, you know, I'm a big kind of like a karma-ish person. I do think there's things in life that do happen for a reason or purpose. And so some of your backstory I wasn't as familiar with. So to me, it just sounded like, I mean, when you step back for a second and you start talking about, you know, here's my education, here's my background, here's what I did for a living for a while. I mean, it's like if I had to write a recipe before something was ever made, if I wrote a recipe for what it would look like for someone to jump into a paddle making business, from design, sales, teach, and incorporating with teaching, or having that as a venue or an avenue to then promote and push paddles or provide paddles. I mean, you're it. It's very interesting to me to hear your background now and be like, well, of course she has a paddle company. It makes sense.
It is cool to look back, because I think a lot of, I was like, what am I doing? You know, but you start collecting with my life, but you start, collecting different skills from all the different areas. And I think, you know, for me too, the community that I've found in pickleball, as you guys know, is everything. It's everything. And I think I felt just really safe going in and you know, being supported by that community. And I got so many people like Rachel and Sarah Sari in Florida that jumped on board and are like, this is awesome. Like, how can we promote your paddles? And so even though I didn't necessarily have much experience, like starting a business, like that's terrifying, right? Starting a business and putting yourself out there in a community that means so much to you, right? So when, you know, so my friends stepped up and, you know, got behind it and helped promote paddles. And then you kind of see the growth and having somebody come back to you and be like, oh, like this, I love your paddle. And I get it gets me out and brings them joy. And so even though it's through a paddle, I love that feeling of like, I help, you know, I had a part in somebody getting out there and like finding community, feeling joy, being healthy, which is so important.
And I think that's what Rich Cat exudes. And, you know, even I sell, you know, paddles where I am now. And with yours, I don't even have to say much. I just say, you know, who you are and the mission and what it's all about. And then they come back and they love the colors. They're like, I love that. I love that that's what it means. And that's what it supports, is kind of giving back like that's it. And that's just such a cool, just bringing everything together that the sport is about. And you're just kind of like doing that without even having to quote unquote sell it to someone. They want to be part of that rich cat experience too, you know?
Yeah, let me.
Yeah.
If you
I love
bring it up, Rachel. I found a quote on your website. To live like a rich cat is about quality of life and how the elements of fun lead to happier, healthier, and longer lives. And I think that just kind of sums up, kind of how your idea, not how the idea came about, but some of the value you're talking about getting and giving others really comes through in that theme and in that rich cat story that I think Rachel's talking about that make people want to be part of it. And along those lines, I don't know how many other companies do it. I guess I can't say you're the only one, but I guess you're the only one I know about that has a feedback program as well. So can you talk about what is that program and maybe a story about a place you're able to help out because of that program?
Yeah. For me, like when starting a company, I definitely was like, this is part of it has to be giving back to what the community has given to me in my journey through learning pickleball and playing. So every 20 paddles, we set one aside and we look for opportunities to donate to schools. Particularly, so I used to teach in a high school, and I don't know, did you guys, when I was in high school, I took a racket sports class and we played pickleball, but it was like a wooden paddle and a giant wiffle ball. And did you guys play that?
Even now, I taught some teachers recently. They still have those plastic paddles. Right. They're so bad.
And you're like, this is dumb. Can we go back to playing badminton, please? Like, I don't. And so like trying to get kids more excited about the sport because it's getting it in a gym classes where they're going to get exposed to it if they don't at home, right? And it's such an easy thing to in a parking lot or in a basketball court. Like you can make pickleball happen in a lot of places, right? So getting it in there and getting people excited. And it's also one thing that I love about pickleball is, and I hope it continues to be this way, is it's accessible like financially for a lot of people, right? Like it's not, I felt a little, tennis had a different vibe, right? Like I was a child of two teachers and I was playing against kids who had indoor clubs and pros training them. And you had to be wealthy to really succeed in that sport. And pickleball, you don't. Like get a good paddle and get out there and you can really excel and grow at something quickly and without a huge expense. But so we've located Lakes International Language Academy is a school in our community. We donated paddles to their elementary school and their high school. And what's evolved from that is parents buying paddles, the teachers getting into it. And eventually one of the teachers started an actual club after school. So now kids it's become an extracurricular activity. Elementary level, elementary age kids are now doing pickleball as a club. And, then they're going home and they're playing with their families, which is like, this is it. Like I was the parent where I wanted to do sports with my kids. I didn't want to necessarily sit and watch them. Like, let's all have fun together. So, it's been really fun to see that within our Forest Lake community here in Minnesota, like how just getting it in a, the FIAD class, then the club evolves and now families are out there playing and, it's just a beautiful.
Take a step back and think about that. I mean, I'm sitting here with like, I can't drop my jaw because I don't want to see anybody want to do that on a live camera, but wow, because look at the lives you've affected, right? You've given an opportunity. I mean, you're donating paddles. So let me clarify. Every 20 paddles, you put one aside, and then you get this stockpile of paddles. And then through your program, you're able to donate those. So here's the school, well, elementary and a high school that didn't have any of that. Or if they did, they had the paddles we wish they did not have. And you walk in and you provide these paddles. And now you're saying, not only are these kids learning to play with proper equipment, which does make the game more fun, but now the teachers and the parents and our after school program. And I mean, that is like significant. I mean, I don't want to just brush over that. That is, I mean, I think about just having one coaching client and making a difference with them and going, oh, I feel so good today. And here you are having families and families upon families, between the teachers and their families and these kids, and giving these kids something to do after school, which has another effect because parents work. Kids sometimes need something to do until parents get home. So, I mean, I just want to say, I just think that, it's more than just your store. What you just said is much more than just a pickleball and just a paddle. I mean, you really have made a big difference in that community. Clearly.
Yeah.
Rachel, you agree?
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's transcended beyond your area into Virginia and Richmond. And, I had similar background with teaching and being at VCU, and working with outreach programs with tennis. And, Jenny was the first one I chatted with about creating a program for kids with pickleball, as an outreach component still at the center. And so we put together a growth mindset life skill program that paired with pickleball, and Jenny was the first to offer to supply those paddles. So for each kid that participated at the end, they got to take that paddle home. And I mean, I can't tell you how excited they were to get that paddle at the end and just to be able to play the sport. So it was so cool to see all that come together and to be able to kind of continue to spread that into the community. So,
well, and Rachel, like we are so aligned with like the growth mindset piece and teaching, like, as you guys know, like there's such a mental game to this, mental side, and that translates off the court into life, and how do you face adversity? How do you finish when you don't feel like you can, and all those important things that you're teaching kids along with, giving them a paddle and teaching them a game is so important, and it will stay with them for life. And so that's a mission I'm happy to be aligned with, be a part of. So,
maybe you're preparing them to play their sister or brother one day.
Yeah, right.
There's some mindset that just happen for that.
Watch the ball. There's nobody else over there. That's it.
Well, so your story is fascinating. I mean, everything from just the entire family being involved, how you got into the pickleball with that kind of a paddle company, production, and how you made that come alive and clearly impacting people all around. So that's a pretty big footprint out there. So what is next for Rich Cat Supply? I mean, I remember when I think you had one paddle. I think now there's 4 or 5. I don't even know, but I saw several on your website today when I looked. But what's next?
Yeah, we've got about 4 different models. It's cool to be a small company because you can be kind of nimble and adjust. There is a lot of uncertainty in pickleball. So much has changed. There's new regulatory agencies being created and new rules and new testing. And sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a lot, to try to keep up. But it's and then the game's changing, the speed and all of that, right? So I've found myself at times being like, keeping up with the changing technology is a lot, but then I remind myself, like, okay, the people that we're really doing a good job of serving we've created the paddles that are a good fit for them, and that is, in a affordable price range between the $80 to $150. They're paddles that are 16 millimeters, so they've got control, they've got dwell time, and they're helping the majority of players who are, in that could be 2.5 to 4.0, 4.5 range, and that's the majority of the market. And so I want to continue to make paddles that serve them, help them improve their game, and continue to play around with fun designs and get I love getting feedback of what people like and want to see. So that's where we'll continue to hopefully move forward and serve them.
Yeah, you're talking to 80%, right? Even more than that, probably. I mean, that's kind of the sweet spot is that 80% of the people fit right in with your paddle line and what you offer in those paddles. Yeah.
And where can people find you? What's website, social media?
Richcatsupply.com is where you can find paddles. Where we have paddles on Amazon. If you're a Prime person, I can relate to that. And Instagram, we've got a Rich Cat Supply Instagram account where we try to put some content. I try to get my daughter Volley involved, and she's now certified, and give little tips, to give our customers help as they're on their, pickleball growth journey. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. My dog's exciting about it.
She's so excited. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was like
you just ran through the tour.
Yeah. Thanks for so much background cheering.
Love the enthusiasm. Yeah.
I love the enthusiasm. Love it. Well, hey everybody. We are first of all, we're so thankful, so grateful to have you on board. I know we've been trying to navigate life and make this happen. And super excited to do it. Again, I think listeners are going to really enjoy your backstory and your U.S. Open and everything that goes with it. I'm sure they're going to follow the whole family. Wish the very best to all of you in the pickleball journey, paddle company, and also your daughter. I mean, she's launching into a whole new arena at the pro level. I think that's super, super exciting. Again, if you have any questions or you want to learn more, richcatsupply.com, and then also on Instagram. So again, thank you so very much for joining.
Thank you, ladies.
Excited, feel very motivated and humbled at the same time.
Yeah.
So
likewise, very inspired by you guys.
Well, we appreciate that as well. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, court is adjourned.